Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video we'll be taking a read through of the Burrows and Badgers gamebook by Michael Lovejoy. So here we go, here's our Burrows and Badgers gamebook, and this is a skirmish game of anthropomorphic animals written by Michael Lovejoy, and it's a total of 128 pages published by Osprey Games. And I picked mine up on Amazon, and I was lucky I got it for $12.95, but the RRP on Amazon right now is $19.95 and the same price in Osprey Games. But the good news is on Osprey Games you can also pick it up as a PDF or an ebook, and if you order the actual hard copy and the ebook, then you can save 25% on both of those. So I think that's a good option, and it's great if you want to get the book really quickly. You can get the PDF version anywhere in the world, so that's a really good option too. But in this video we're going to take a good look through the book. We'll flick through all the pages, go over some of the kind of overview of the rules and the mechanics, and I'll pick out some of the most interesting parts that I like about the book the most as we go through it. Hopefully this will give you a good idea of what the game's all about, and then you can decide if this is something that you'd like to add to your collection. But right away, I'm really loving the kind of whole design and the aesthetics of this book. The cover looks great, the illustrations very old school. I really like the font that they've gone with. This is really nice. And just to point out that the cover, if you do pick it up on Amazon, the cover looks different to this, but when I ordered my copy on Amazon, this is the copy I got. So this is like the main book and the main version. So if you look on Osprey Games, this is the cover you're going to find. Okay, so let's open it up and let's get started. And right away we're seeing these aged pages, so this is a really nice touch. And Osprey have done this on a few books. Another one I've got is Last Days, the Zombie Apocalypse by Ash Barker, and it's got the same effect, and I really like that. It kind of sets the scene nicely. And then as we flick through, you can see this was published in 2018, so it's not that old a game actually, it's quite new, but it's got a real nice following, and there's a Facebook page with about 3,000 followers on there, I think. They're really active and really nice community, so definitely worth checking that out to find out a bit more about it all. And you can see here in the content sections, we're going to get welcome to the kingdom, tell us what we need. We're going to go through the basic game concepts, the rules, the warbands, the magic, and then turn it over. We're also going to see about the equipment, campaigns, scenarios, and it's going to include all our Warband roster sheets that we need to play the game. And then we're going to get started with the introduction, and this is very nice and short, so not too much here at all, but this is setting the scene and kind of giving us a background and introduction to what the game's all about. And there's just enough to really get you into it, but also leaves plenty of room for your imagination to fill in all the gaps. And that's what I really like from some of these types of games, where you just get not too much information, but enough so you can get started, and then you can use your kind of imagination and your personality to really design the game and build it around the things that you love and enjoy. So I really like that introduction is enough just to get us going. But it also tells us here, welcome to the kingdom of Northumbria. I don't know if it's Northumbria or Northumbria, I'm not sure how to say that. But this gives us a little map, so it sets the scene of where everything's going to take place. And right away, it is north of England. It's all based on, and so this is you've got the Newcastle here. You've got all the different names of things that are all going to fit in with, like Strathclyde, like Strathclyde would be in this area, and things like that. So, and the Merse is like maybe based on like Mercia. So really old English. You know, we're looking at the kind of history, around the 12th century maybe. I think it's really hard to put a date on this. I think was Mercia around like the 9th or 10th century, I'm not too sure, but I think because you'll see later on that we've got like guns and things like that, like pistols in this, then there's no real set date that I think we can put on it. But yeah, it is a real fantasy world, but it's certainly got a lot of influence coming from Old English history and lore, and that's a really nice touch. You certainly get that feel from this book. It really is like a stepping back into the past, and a real, almost like a kind of history book in itself. It feels like that, like a kid's history book, something you might have picked up in the 1960s. So really interesting design, and I really like that. And then we go into the first game, and it's going to tell us what we'll need, what miniature figures we can use, and everything like that. And with the miniature figures, then you can use the ones made by the game's creator at Oathsworn Miniatures, and they've got a huge selection of all the different animals that are designed specifically for this game. But I've got some cool miniatures from Northumbrian Tin Soldier that I'll be using, and I really like those miniatures that they make, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how they'll work in this rule set as well. So you can use any miniatures though, you don't have to use the ones from Oathsworn or Northumbrian Tin Soldiers. You could even use like Lego minifigures and things like that. You can get the animal ones, then that would work too. So yeah, there is some issues with size, and you see that they recommend you use different size bases for the different animals to represent their size, so you could kind of work your way around that, but you don't have to do it. They just find that it makes everything work a little bit more smoothly. So you've got lots of flexibility here, so you're not tied in to their miniatures or anything like that, so you certainly can use anything. Although looking at the photos, you can see that the miniatures are really great, and also as you look through it, the artwork's fantastic. These really old school sketches kind of make me think of like a nursery rhyme book, something I would have had when I was a kid. And if you think this reminds you of the Redwall series of children's books, which a lot of people say the game reminds them of, then the guy Gary Chalk, he illustrated all these pictures in the book, but he also illustrated the first 6 volumes of the series of Redwall. So that's really bringing that whole style to this game, and I think that's what really brings a lot of nostalgia to it, and that's one thing that I think a lot of people like. But I would say, don't think that because we've got lots of illustrations and it is based on this anthropomorphic animal kind of style, that it's a children's game, because it certainly isn't. You know, it's certainly an adult's game. You can play it with your kids, of course, no problem, but it's definitely not designed for children specifically. So yeah, this just is a nice kind of way to really put across the kind of vibe they're going for, this old English style. But here you can see we talk about the terrain now, and again you can use any terrain for this. They've got some awesome terrain on their website, really nice, pretty reasonably priced as well, so I'd recommend checking that out at Oathsworn Miniatures as well. But I think this game cries out for crafting your own terrain if you like doing that kind of thing. And then one of the really interesting things about this game is the dice mechanics that they use, and it's all set with the polyhedral dice, the same as you would get with Dungeons and Dragons. So you've got that set of 7 dice that you use with it, and again you can buy those on their website. I got some from Northumbrian Tin Soldier, and those dice, really clever mechanics. I think it'd be good to just go over quickly here before we go any further. So this dice mechanic's a key part of the game and really breaks it away from some other like skirmish games out there. And the idea is different skills and different animals will get different value dice. So some would be a D4 and they would be competing in a roll-off against others with maybe a D10. And so if you roll to attack, you'd roll your dice, and then you defend, you roll your dice. So there's a chance you're going to stop the defense with a bigger dice. And this would be like if you've got a stronger character against a weaker character, example. But there is a thing where you can get like a success, a critical success if you like, and that's if you roll the highest number on the dice. So if you roll in a D4, you've got a 25% chance of getting that high 4 number for that critical success. Whereas if you're rolling a D10, you're only going to get a 1 in 10 chance. So there's more chance of this actually getting a critical success than this, but this has obviously got more chance of winning in a general roll-off. So this really evens the playing field and means that a small mouse could compete easily against a large badger and actually take the badger out of the game. So that's really interesting. And we'll go into this a little bit more later on, but I think it's worth touching on here and just covering it a little bit because this is a great part of the game. So then we're also going to need a tape measure, some other equipment like pens, pencils and things like that, and some paper. You can get all your rosters here, and also they've got lots of support on their website at Oathsworn Miniatures where you can download PDFs and things for that kind of stuff. So everything you need is either in the book or really easy to find online. Then we move on to the basic game concepts, which are going to tell us about how to measure distance, turns and actions, and then we're going to get loads more illustrations as we keep going through the book. So this is really good. And we also see lots of photos kind of promoting the miniatures that are made by Oathsworn Miniatures, and they're actually made by the same person that wrote the book, by Michael Lovejoy and his small team, and he's also photographed them and everything like that and got them painted up. So that team's done all the photography and painting of the miniatures that you'll see in the book too. So that's really nice. So one thing I find that the book doesn't have is any actual pictures of gameplay, and I think when you explain the rules, I like to see some photos of the kind of game being played out. So for like measuring distance and for turn taking and things like that, it would be helpful to have a picture alongside the text that shows exactly how that works and plays out on the battlefield. But it doesn't really matter. I say it doesn't affect the game because these are quite simple rules. So I think once you try them out on the tabletop and just to kind of get your head around them, it's really quick to pick up. So it's just one small thing that I'd like to see, but you don't have to have it. So this is going to go through all the different kind of main concepts, line of sight and things like that. So you have to read through all this, and then that will give you a good idea of how that's going to work. And then once we've done the concepts, we move into the rules. So the first section of the rules is about unit statistics, and these statistics are movement, strike, block, range, nimbleness, concealment, awareness, fortitude, and present. And these are pretty much summing up everything that is going to be kind of building the game around. So you move, you strike, but then you can block, and then you've got ranged attacks, but then you've got nimbleness, so that tells you how good you are at dodging those ranged attacks. And you can also hide, that's a big part of the game, but also people can find you, so you've got to look at their awareness and how that affects concealment. And then you've got fortitude and present. And so this reminds me a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, and I think building the Warband here and creating your characters within it reminds me a lot of Dungeons and Dragons and the setup, which we'll see later on as we go through how you can buy equipment and things like that. And that's a great aspect of the game. I love that. That's really good. And I like all this as well. So you've got lots of options to really customize your warband and the fighters within it. So that's really fun. But the whole actual action of the game is based upon this idea of roll-offs. And this is what we touched on a little bit earlier with those dice rules. And it gives you some examples here. So Fleabite Hardpad is searching a ruined building for a hidden chest. His awareness is a d6, so he rolls a d6 and scores a 5. The hidden chest has a target of 3, and Fleabite's action succeeds with a result of 2, which is 5 minus 3. So it's his score minus the target, which is 3, and then that's going to give a result of 2, so he's actually successful. So that's pretty much how it's going to work on items and things like that. But let's have a look at an attack. So Fleabite attacks Garrick Longear. His strike attack is a d8, and let's see, he rolls a d8, scoring a 4. So he scores a 4. He has no modifiers to add or subtract, so his roll stays as a 4. Garrick has a block statistic of a d6, and he rolls a d6, scoring a 3. So there's his 3. And he's carrying a buckler, which gives him a +1. So he adds 1 to his roll. That takes that up to a 4. So the result cancel each other out. The result is a 0, and so Fleabite's attack fails. But if this remained at a 3 or less, then that attack would have been successful. So that's basically how it works and how these different dice will interact with each other. And then as we turn over, we're on to perfect rolls. And this is where I talked about earlier with that critical success kind of idea, that sometimes you'll get a perfect roll. And so the example here is on a roll of 4 on a d4 that we went with, or 10 on a d10. Then if you score it perfect, then luck is with you. The roll off has gone unusually well, and you can add 7 to your roll. And in this way, even the weakest of warriors, with some luck, can defeat the most powerful of enemies. So if you're rolling against someone with a d12, though, and then they roll a 12, and you roll a 4, you both get that perfect roll, but you're adding 7 on, taking it to 11, so that 12 is still going to win. So these bigger fighters have still got a good chance to stay in the game, but I really like this whole mechanic, and it'd be really interesting to play a bunch of games and see how it unfolds, so I can't wait to do that. I've just played around with it just to kind of get the concept in my head, but I've never actually played a game, so I can't wait to try it out for real. And with the rolls taken care of, we've got the turn sequence, so we've got an initiative, action, and end phases. And then the actions we can do: a sprint, attack, shoot, cast a spell, search, or hide. And you're going to see magic in this a lot, a big part of the game, which is great as well. So that's really cool. And then we're going to go in all the details about declaring which action you're going to do and your movement. More awesome illustrations. These are so great. I love the whole cross-hatching look to this. Really nice. And I like these little quotes that they put in as well. I think these are fun and really set the tone of the game. And again, another one here. These are really good. So then as we carry on going, we're going to look at all the different movement, different things you can do, jumping, falling, moving during combat, and then it breaks down all those statistics of sprint, attack, or action, sorry, sprint, attack, shoot, cast a spell, and searching. And then we've got all tables with different modifiers to look at as well. So it's all broken down. It's quite a lot to read through, again, with no examples of actual gameplay. So that's my only downside so far on the book, is there's no examples of the gameplay. But, you know, I think you can figure it out. One thing I would say, that I think it's going to work better to simply take one section at a time and just play through it a little bit as like a little dummy run with a couple of miniatures, just to kind of get familiar with it. And then I think once you've done that, it's going to be really easy to learn it. And then once we get through all that, we've got warbands, and now we're on to a cool bit of the game where we start our warband. And when you start your warband, you're going to choose leader, a second, and you're going to choose magic users, and then you're also going to choose a den. And this is kind of comes into the campaign play, and the warbands need a home base, somewhere safe where they can recuperate and train between all the fighting. And these dens provide certain benefits to the warband and can also be upgraded with new facilities and equipment. So choose a den for your warband from the following table. And so here you can get an abandoned burrow, a ruined farmstead, or a town building, and then this is going to show you which allegiances can use those dens and then what effects those dens are going to have. So this is really fun, having that den. And wouldn't it be cool to, once you've chosen a den for your warband, to actually build it as well, and then it's all custom and you've really got ownership on it. So that's really great. And then once we've got that sorted, we've got explains about our warband roster sheet, and then also all the races of Northumbria. And then we're going to go into what all those races can do and what they mean. So lots of reading here, lots of background, some nice information, and this is a real fun part of the game for me, creating that warband. Then we've got some more tables, and this is going to tell us the small beasts, the medium beasts, the large beasts, and the massive beasts. And then this is going to break down how much they're going to cost us. So you get pennies to spend when you build your warband, and this is going to tell you how much each of those beasts are going to cost you. And then for all the different statistics, it tells you what dice they can use. So, and then also some skills. So some aren't going to get any skills, but some are going to get quite a few. So this is great when you build it. You can really take your time and look through all the different ones. Maybe get one massive beast and then go for a few smaller ones. Really mix it up. And you'll notice that all the different miniatures are different sizes as well to represent that. So you'd have a big badger with a small mouse, and then that would kind of like fit in with the description here, but you'd also see that represented in the miniatures. Now, something I like about Northumbrian Tin Soldier is that the miniatures aren't like small and big. So I like them where they're all quite similar in size. Like the Guardians of the Riverbank, the badger is a little bit bigger than the others, but it's not really big and really small. So I like that they're quite similar in size. But you might like the Oathsworn miniatures where the mice are really tiny and the badgers are really big. So I think that's just like a personal thing. But these are great, these tables. I really like those. And then we've got the standard warbands, where standard warband can choose any mix of different beasts, and you can have a maximum of 10, and they can be of any different race too. So you can have a couple of mice, a toad, and a badger, for example. And a really nice image. Big fox there, fox archer, really cool. Great picture. That's probably one of my favourites from the whole book, actually. Then we got rare beasts, single species, so you can build a warband around one single species. That's going to limit you a little bit, but it makes up for it with some things that you can add to it. So if you want to just do a warband full of mice, then you can certainly do that. And then because there's going to be a difference in skills, then you can get some upgrades for your stats, and that'll all be included here too. And then once you've done that, you choose your allegiance, and you choose between a royalist, a rogue, a free beast, or a wild beast. And now they're going to get different strengths and different skills and upgrades too. So well worth reading through those. And this builds on the background and building that narrative as well. So this is a really fun section. And then once we've done all that, we've got a really nice section on magic. And up to this point, you wouldn't think that magic plays a big part in the game, but it really does. And so this section's quite long, and it's got loads of information, loads of options. And I think for me, I'd be building my warband certainly around some kind of magic. And in this game, they've got different forms of magic, ranging from light, which is used by priests and clerics, through to dark, which is generally the preserve of evil sorcerers and necromancers. So you've got loads of different ones to go through. So you've got natural magic, and this is going to give you all the information here: haste, cursed, cure, luck, lightning, and push. So they're your different kind of spells that you can use. And then you've got light magic, another 6 spells. And this might not seem like a lot, but I think it's enough. You don't want too. Sometimes you don't want too much. You can have too many options, and then it can slow the gameplay down. Having just a few spells that you can really learn is great. But also, you don't want just to have 1 or 2. You do want more. So I like that they've got 6 here. This is really good. 6 main ones, and so you've got natural magic, light magic, dark magic, wild magic, unbound magic, noble magic. So you've got 6 different types of magic, and so. Again, loads of options to customize your warband and your kind of wizard character in there. So this is awesome. And then we go on to different equipment. So tells you all about the different types of magic and the spells that each one's going to use. But now we're getting on to more of the weapons. But as we go through the book, we'll come back to magic in a little while, because there's a lot more to cover for that. And so when you choose your equipment, you're going to have to buy this as well. But it's going to be all different types, like hand weapons. You're going to have missile weapons, and these can be from pistols to slingshots to crossbows. You've got different armor. This is all going to add to you. So here, for example, a model equipped with a buckler adds +1 to all block roll-offs. So, you've got to give yourself some armor there, but you might want to have a heavy shield, and then you're going to get 2, and you're going to gain some toughness from that. So, but there is going to be a penalty with a heavy shield where your nimbleness roll-offs will suffer a -1. You won't be able to move as fast with a heavy shield, so that's going to affect you. And then we've got items, and this is a really nice part of the game too. Got like a camouflage cloak, your healing potions, lucky charm, and all things like that. So they're really nice touches now, and we're really starting to build on all the things you can include. Again, it's a lot like Dungeons and Dragons in that respect, but it's almost like a stripped down, simplified version. So you don't have to have books and pages of tables of items. Just got a select few here that you can choose from. So then we've gone through our equipment. It's time to look at the specific skills. So if you want to choose a set of specific skills for your fighters, then this is where you can do it. And you've got all these fighting skills like Killing Blow, Melee Master, Parry, Born in Harness. Loads here, so lots to choose from. Lots to read through. You've got shooting skills, cunning skills, this hedge magic. So this is really fun. So yeah, loads of customization options. And strength. So you can choose like one character at a time and work through really going through how you want them. Like a badger, you'd want him to be strong. Maybe you'd want him to have this voice of command. So really nice. Movement skills for those smaller ones. Maybe a mouse is going to be able to like have a burst of speed and things like that. So really fun. Innate skills. And then we're on to campaigns. And this is going to give us all the information to play a campaign to get started. We've got a pre-battle sequence, then we play the game, and then afterwards we've got this post-battle sequence where we go through survivors and injuries. It's got a nice table here where you can get some permanent injuries, so you can really start building on and seeing some development in your characters, development for good and bad, because these will maybe affect them and kind of they can lose some equipment and things like that, so if they're robbed. So this is a really nice touch. And then more charts. So we've got wandering charts. So here for different places, it gives you different things that you can do. So this is really nice. And then den upgrade. So now we're really getting into some tables. Experience, you can gain experience. Then you want to do some upkeep, maybe hire some new recruits and grow your warband. Trade. And then we're on to all the different like costs if you do want to do some trading. And then spells, and this is a really interesting part. This I really like. So if you've got a magic user in your warband, then you're going to want to create some spells, and you need some spell ingredients. So first you need a mage's pouch, which we would have gone through earlier, and then it tells you how much each ingredient is going to cost you. So you can purchase these ingredients, and I guess you combine them to make your potions. So here it's got the different rare items as well, so you can kind of choose those. So this is really good. I really like this whole spell ingredient. So you really feel like you're kind of creating those spells yourself, and that's really fun. And then we've got fate points to look at, the warband rating, and then different scenarios. So once we've gone through all the rules, we've got it all ready to go. We're ready for a campaign. We've done our pre-campaign preps and we're all ready. We look at all the different scenarios now. And so you can roll a d12 and then consult the chart below to decide which scenario you're going to play. And then the scenarios are pretty simple. It's just like a couple of pages each, and that gives you all the information you need to play each scenario. So really nice and straightforward again. Even this one is just one page, so really fast. So once you've got your head around the rules, I think it's going to be pretty easy to start playing it for sure. And there we go. And now this one's quite longer. A few more pages here. And then we've got the witch hunt at 7. So this is going to give us what? 7, 8. We're going to get 8 scenarios altogether. So plenty to play. But then again, there's more scenarios on the website. And you can make your own up. I mean, it's really pretty straightforward. You can see the layout here. So it wouldn't take much to come up with your own little skirmishes to go out on. And then we've got a secondary objectives table. And then we've got our appendix. And this is going to include things like magic item creation. So if we want to make something, it tells us how we're going to be able to do that. And then we've got our warband roster sheet. So we can have all the different information for each fighter. And then the credits at the end. So there we go. That takes us to the end of the book. And here's the back cover. Again, nice description. Really setting the scene for what the game is all about. So for me, the key parts of this book that I really like is the artwork. I like the photography. It feels really like English, like a good book from the 1960s. So really nostalgic. And it reminds me of a toy I used to have when I was a kid. So really early 1980s, I had this toy called Puzzle Town by Richard Scarry. And it had a fox who was the mayor and different animals that lived there. So this really reminds me of that. So it's bringing back some cool memories. And I think that's why I like it a lot. And I think a lot of people would have had like cartoons and things, even like Dogtanian, that they would have liked when they were a kid. And this might remind them of that. So that's one aspect of the book that I think I really love. I also like the dice. I think using these polyhedral dice is a really nice mechanic, really clever. And so I think that's going to be really fun to play. Reminds me of a lot of D&D in the setup and how you can choose items and magic and things like that. So that's really fun. And I think a few people have said it reminds them a bit of Frostgrave as you build your warband around a kind of magic user. And so it's got some aspects of that. But I've never played Frostgrave, so I'm not sure. But I really like the idea of getting the ingredients for your spells. That's really cool. And I think, although there's no instructions on how to play, I think it will be quick to get into and learn the basic rules. Certainly taking one section at a time and then just doing a dummy run with a couple of miniatures just to get a feel for it. I think that'll work. But overall, I think building the warband, spending those pennies and kind of going through all the specific skills and items, that's going to be a great fun part of the game for sure. So if you like the look of Burrows and Badgers, I'll put links in the description below to Oathsworn miniatures so you can find out more about the miniatures they make. I'll also put a link to Northumbrian Tin Soldier so you can see the miniatures I've bought and that I'll be using for this game and also for my own game that I'm creating that you can follow along with here on the channel too. And I'll also put links for the book itself for Amazon and for the Osprey Games website, so you can find out everything you want there. And don't forget, on Osprey Games you can pick up the PDF or the ebook version and save yourself some money too. I hope you enjoyed the video and this gave you a good idea about what Burrows and Badgers is all about, and also a good look at the book in case this is something that you'd like to buy. And I really love this look at this game. It's going to be really fun to play, and with those Northumbrian Tin Soldier miniatures to go alongside it, I think it's going to be really fun and we're going to have a great time building all the terrain and everything for it. But again, thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. If you like this kind of content and would like to support the channel, then please check out my Patreon page. And thanks to everyone who's joined so far. It's really awesome. We hang out on Discord, talk about the hobby, share ideas and help each other out. And you'll get some perks there that you're not going to find anywhere else. So I'll put a link in the description and it'll be great to see you there.